Hello everyone, how you guys doing? Hopefully you're having a wonderful Monday. We are back again with another PWCC/Fanatics weekly review where I can go through the top 100 soccer items auctioned off this week over on their platform. As always, if you enjoy these reviews, do make sure to leave a like, helps the video, helps the channel, all that good stuff. But with that said, let's swing on over there. So, here we are, starting the week at $138 and working our way up. It's a pretty modern heavy week, but there are a ton of big cards and a ton of big prices, so let's go ahead and get started. We start with 1988 Valderrama, rookie. That's not really a rookie, but whatever. PSA 8 for 138 there. Pop 101 and higher on that one. We have a Finest Lewandowski Idols, silver, along with a Garnacho and Endrick dual booklet. Love to see that. A Wizards of the Pitch Messi orange, PSA 9 here for 150. There will be a gold jersey number later that we'll see, so that's just something to compare there. Duncan Edwards from 56, along with a 2000 Pele Stadion gold that went in a PSA 6 for 156. Above that, a Pirlo Purple 2014 Prizm for 162. A Harry Kane early. I don't believe this is first auto, but it's certainly early career. 162 here for a select orange out of 149. And a 61 Heinerlake Koenig Fußball Alfredo Di Stefano. SGC 4.5, pretty good grade on that. We'll pop 1 of 1, 2 higher in total. I thought the Pirlo was a solid price. Granted, PSA 9's not totally easy in 2014 Prizm, so as you can see, pop 1 of 2, none higher. So PSA 9, maybe it's getting a premium. It probably should. I think it's definitely worthy. If any PSA 9s are, a 2014 Prizm in terms of modern, should be worth it. 56 Duncan Edwards here. PSA 8 goes for 168. We have what I felt was a decent deal on this. I mean, if you're into Messi PSA 10 stuff, I think this is a nice looking sticker. Next to it, we have a Diogo Jota, PSA 9 going for 174. Auto from Stadium Club Chrome. Above it, a Benzema silver bar from Eminence out of 6, which I'm not sure why it's numbered out of 6, but nonetheless, 174 there for a bar that's probably worth like 30, 40 bucks maybe. Sicker Verlag Pele from 66, PSA 4 for 180. I did check out the pricing on this, and this is about where they've been. Some best offers will be higher, some auctions will be lower. Generally speaking, this seemed pretty healthy for an auction. We have a PSA 10 Topps Chrome Mbappe next to that for 180 as well, just a base there. A Yashin from 1962 Vecchi, which I initially looked up, but I then also closed because there wasn't really many comps to look at. There was a PSA 3 that at the peak sold for 300, so this isn't all-time high price. It's also a Pop 101, so I would assume that had to have been the same 3, so that's a little bit of a loss here, presumably on this, if it didn't sell between those two. But compared to some others that are out there, it seemed like a decent sale. Surprisingly, there aren't a ton of high grades of this that are out and about. I'm not sure why. I mean, clearly Pele would be more prone to getting graded, but there's tons of Pele, solid grades out there. There's not many Yashins, which is interesting. 84 Cromos Cano Diego Maradona, PSA 6 for 186. We then have this panel here from a Di Stefano 54 release that I haven't really seen much. Maybe I just see it in the smaller version, but even then it doesn't really ring a bell to me. So I don't know if this is just flown under the radar. Maybe it's a newer submission to PSA, as this is a hand-cut panel. I guess it is a Pop 1 of 1 and higher, so that does add a little bit of credibility to the sense that I've never seen it before. Thierry Henry 2019 Obsidian Auto goes for 192. We got a white sparkle Jude for 200 as well. People love the white sparkle in the modern sets, mostly I think Select and Prizm for the most part. I don't know if they're case hits. I know in some situations they are. I don't know if that's still the case. Typically if people like a certain card, they'll print it more, but I'm not sure if that's the situation there. Ed Dzeko leads off the beginning of Prizm Golds that we'll be seeing. This is a World Cup Stars insert. A hot take I've always had is that I like the World Cup Stars insert, the look of it, better than the base cards. I like the border. I think the border's really clean. I think the one downside would be the World Cup Stars text that's sort of in the middle of it all. But even with that, I still think it looks better than the base cards in the sense that the base cards just have weird borders. It's like 4 little blocks in each corner that just look clunky to me. Extra hot take. I think 2014 Prizm World Cup base is probably the worst looking Prizm product I've ever seen. I'm sure people aren't going to love that. Not to say I don't think the set's good, not to say I don't think it's important, I obviously do, but I just think it looks awful. I think if it came out today looking like that, people would be disgusted. But because it's 2014 Prizm, it's rose tinted glasses, all that good stuff, but I just don't like the look of it. Like 2022 Prizm right here, we got a Bono Gold. I think that looks good. I think it's a nice looking Prizm card. And that goes for 216. We also have a Marco van Basten here, 88 euro, in which the Dutch did win. PSA 9, pop 1 of 12, 3 higher, goes for 210. In terms of comps, $100 higher than the last sale, $200 lower than the sale before that, and then $30, $20 above the sale before that. So, I mean, ultimately seems within the range. It seems about middle of the road. But it's, for a sticker that's only sold 4 times ever, from a pretty meaningful, year and release for this player, Panini, PSA 9, I like it a lot, man. I think that's a good price, a good snag. What would a PSA 10 go for? I'd have to think more. Sometimes you wonder with a PSA 9 and I guess I just closed it, so I guess we're not going to know. I was going to look up if a PSA 10 has ever sold. Let me go ahead and just do it anyways, because I'm sure we can get back here if this loads quick enough. Let's see if a PSA 10 has sold. I would imagine it gets a good premium. Wow. Well, I think it would now. I don't know. That's crazy. A PSA 10 sold for $264. I guess when you add that into the mix, this actually looks like a pretty high sale. But yeah, wow. Yeah, I think whoever got that $264 on a 10 probably got a deal. I mean, maybe there's something to be, I don't know, the top looks a little crooked, but ultimately it looks fine, I think. I mean, nitpicking really. I think a 10 should deserve a premium. Clearly it didn't get a huge one there, but I think whoever got that 10 is probably a happy camper at this point. So interesting to see nonetheless. Heung-min Son auto next to it, 216. Above it, a New Era Mbappe. Like, that's an example. Like, the New Era Mbappe Silver Prizm goes for more than this. I mean, I know it's Van Basten. I know he's in the sort of dead era of soccer card collecting at the moment, which is like 70s into 80s. It's not really that widely sought after, but man, I feel like the MVP should be worth more than a silver insert Mbappe third year. But nonetheless, this is 228. This has continued to go down. I took a look just to see, and I mean, sort of makes sense. It was really hyped at one point in time and is sort of falling back. Ekitike auto here out of 75 for 252. We have a Kaká sticker auto for 276 as well. It's a PSA 8. I was going to say it doesn't look like a great price for a tie-dye auto, but PSA 8 sort of, you can rationalize it a bit more. We have a 2008 Modric sticker PSA 10 for 276. I didn't look that one up, but I could basically guarantee that that's a pretty good price. I mean, it's definitely getting a PSA 10 premium for sure. 2009 Neymar SGC 5. Did look this up, and pretty good sale, at least in comparison to the past. Now, granted, there was a June sale for basically the same. Before that, though, I mean, an 8.5 BGS was selling for $1,000. I guess that's not really comparable in any way, shape, or form. We go back further. There's a PSA 6 here for $500. So, based off these comps that we're seeing immediately, it doesn't seem great. And a PSA 6 apparently on eBay went for $1,400 on a best offer. But when we go back into last year a little bit further, I mean, a PSA 5 was $162. PSA 5 was $162. We have a BGS 7.5 that was $312. I mean, compared to these sales in 2024, it seems like that, the card we just saw on PWCC/Fanatics is doing pretty good. This one, I mean, it has a really low price, so I think people recognize it. This was atrocious, in my opinion. I mean, like, this is a BGS 7 from, look at that. That's an awful BGS 7. You can literally, see the dirt all over the top of the card. It looks like this was unearthed and sent to BGS, and they gave it a frickin' 7. And the worst part, apparently, is the corners. They're like, oh, this bottom left corner is dinged in a little bit. The surface, though, you guys didn't notice the dirt, the grime that's all over this thing? Like, that's disgusting. That was just one of the craziest cards I've ever seen. A 7 on that is just hilarious. Granted, to give them some sort of slack, that is early days of soccer grading, so maybe the person that got it was like, oh, yeah, these just all look dirty. That's how they come. I don't know. Anyways, David Piola, 1.5. There's only been one other one to sell, and that was the Pop 1 higher. That was a PSA 4 that I believe last time went for $500. So, a PSA 4 for $500 assumes about $125 a grade. If you, translated that over to this would be like $150 to $175. So this was a pretty good sale, I would say. Granted, when you have something that sells this infrequently, people are going to pay up just to get it. So I get that as well. We have a Hollow Glow Messi here out of 25 PSA 10. We'll come back to that in a second. We have a 2006 Edinson Cavani PSA 5 for $312. This one has been on a crazy run. I mean, not only selling for $120 more than literally just 2 months ago, but back in the day, there was a sale on eBay here of a PSA 3 for $33, and there was a PSA 6 for $94, and now PSA 5 goes for $312. So super strong sales there. You know, not sure what to make of that. That's a fairly niche player. I wouldn't have thought he would have got that sort of love, but at the same time, when it's a pop 1 of 2, 4 higher, and they never sell, like, you know, if you want one, I guess you got to pay up. I can't add anything here. I'm sorry. This is outside my ball knowledge history, so I'll just keep it moving. Above it, we do have a couple golds. There will be many more gold prisms, so this is sort of your entry price, get into the door on any one. You have Eduardo Vargas and David Pizarro, which go for $324 and $336, respectively there. Along with that, a Hector Castro Los Andes, and this is a 1930 set that has a lot of pretty prominent Uruguayan players. This is a name I've at least sort of brushed up against. It's clearly not a superstar level name because we saw an Andrade recently go for like the 10 to 15K range, I'm pretty sure. Probably closer to 15, I can't remember quite exactly, but some of the superstars in the set do get good prices. This is a name I'm familiar with to some extent. $336 on this doesn't strike me as a crazy price. Granted, 14 watchers as well, so clearly not you know, a huge sort of fan base, at least amongst the pre-war crowd, but interesting to see it go and get more sales data points from that set in general. This was the one I was mentally comparing to just a second ago when I said we'll come back to this Messi. So you could get a 2024 Finest Hollow Glow Orange Inter Miami kit, where you could get a purple sapphire out of 25 from his days at Barca. Like, to me, this is a no-brainer. In terms of watchers, it's got, you know, almost double, so clearly, you know, a lot of other people agree. I think this is definitely the play. I know it's a PSA 8, who cares? You know, for me, I don't give a rip. When there's a card that clearly is pretty important, or at least moderately important, compared to a card that could not exist and I wouldn't even know the difference, you know, I think that Sapphire was a good deal, all to say. I also think this was a good deal, especially in comparison to what we'll see coming up later. I think a Karim Benzema, granted, PSA 8 again, maybe that's just the case. I don't care as much on grading on these types of cards. I mean, clearly it's important, it matters to some extent, but I want the card. If I can get a, you know, purple Sapphire Messi Prizm, well, Prizm, Topps Chrome, you get the idea. Or if I could get a gold Prizm Benzema, I mean, I'll take them. I mean, $350 in the world of modern, or you could buy this Leaf bundle of patches, you know, it's up to you. But yeah, I don't think it's bad. I'm trying to compare to like other modern stuff. Granted, this is $100 less, but like this row is relatively random stuff. And in this row, I mean, you could say that these are random too to some extent. I mean, a gold Prizm really isn't, and a Sapphire Purple Messi isn't. So like, I mean, man, $100 extra, you can get that. I'd be about it all day. Granted, I didn't do that. I didn't pay these prices in this auction, but honestly, in hindsight, I might have bought one or the other. KDB 2010 Football Panini Belgium release PSA 9. These are down a lot, and I think this is a good sort of example of something I've been thinking of for a while, and I wanted to make a video on it, but I just didn't end up making the video because I didn't want to like rain on people's parade and talk down on, you know, what people like to collect. But Kevin De Bruyne is the type of player that I worry about when it comes to card collecting or just monetary spend in the hobby. If you don't care about money and you're just buying to collect, hey, I don't care. Do whatever you want. That's perfectly fine. But if you're buying KDB under the you know, sort of umbrella that he is an important player that was very solid for his career, an all-time, well, not an all-time great, but like a definite great player at his position. He's a great player, really. That's the way to put it. He's a great player. He's not top of the top, but he is right beneath that. He is very close, and he's been there for a long time at this point. And a lot of these players, they sort of get love towards the end of their career, middle end of their career, because you start to see what all they've accumulated. But I feel like where they fall short is once their career starts to end, like his is, and once you start to get into that post-playing career, I think people forget about him. I just think they do. Not totally. Clearly, there will still be people that care and talk about him, but there are some players that sort of get lost in time. And, you know, Kevin De Bruyne, this sticker is a great example. In a world where a lot of these types of stickers, like stickers you don't see a lot, right? There's only been 2 sales of this year. Theoretically, that should be good. You know, for a lot of these other things we see, when there's only 2 sales in a year, that's usually good. This might, I mean, I don't know if it is, but it might be an all-time low price. I mean, yeah, we go and look. The only times it's sold lower were this year for $350, last year for 310 and now for 372. So it's up a little bit from the all-time low sales, I guess. But ultimately, I mean, it's been as high during the boom. Now, granted, it was during the boom, but like multiple thousands. And, you know, even outside of the boom, it was still, I mean, this is 2020 pricing. It was 810 in 2020. People were so excited about KDB in 2020, and now we're 2025, and people don't care as much. And, I thought to some extent Modric was sort of in that realm too. Him winning another UCL, I think, sort of puts him over the top. But even then, I still think that, it is something to be at least thoughtful of when you're collecting these types of players or buying them later in career, because I do think they fall off a bit. I think that sticker's a great example of, that happening in the modern day. R9, El Mundo Deportivo next to it, PSA 4.5 for 372. That seemed like a relative deal, I would say. And that's probably where I'll leave that. Not a whole lot more to add. 2010 Messi, we see these go a bunch, typically 300 to 500, so that's right there. The 82 Maradona España goes for 400 in a PSA 5, which is about right. You can definitely see PSA 6s, 7s, 8s every now and then. So a 5 is, deserves to be in that range. Finest Pop Art, 1 of 1, Bastian Schweinsteiger. We'll just keep it moving. I thought this was a fairly low price, at least for a semi-notable player like Claudio Bravo. Not a great name, but at least a name, PSA 9 for 430, I didn't think it was crazy, especially in comparison to what we saw earlier, what we'll see later. And then in this row, take your pick of the Messis. You have a prized Footballers Green-Red Fusion out of 25, a Steve Aoki Topps Chrome Gold, PSA 10, or a Topps Merlin Chrome Wizards of the Pitch, PSA 10. And I'd take the Wizards of the Pitch solely because it's a jersey number, PSA 10, and I guess it's also not Steve Aoki, The Steve Aoki is just an instant cross-off in my mind. And then basically it's the Finest Fusion and the Wizards of the Pitch, and I take the jersey number over the Fusion, but that is me. So, on to page 1, here we go. Starting off with a Kaboom Jude Bellingham Raw for nearly $500. That just seems crazy to me, but the people like Kaboom, but look at that, 19 watchers. 19 watchers getting nearly $500. Tony Cruz auto here, Black Box 101. I've always personally had like weird feelings about Black Box 101, White Box 101, because it's basically like, from my understanding, Panini make goods. Like they're just, printing off one-of-ones to try to make people happy or to fulfill whatever they need to fulfill. And to me, that's not really the essence of what these cards should be. I think they should be in packs, and I think people should be able to pull them, and I don't think Panini should just be able to print these to make people happy whenever they want, but ultimately, I don't really think the hobby's going to care that much. I think throughout time, people are just going to be like, yeah, it's a 101, and that's really where it starts and stops. I think that's where a lot of people their mind goes, and if it's a 101, hey, they like it. $500 there, feels like the people like it. People also seem to like this. 1995 Salo La Copa. This is a R9, early R9. I don't believe this class is as a rookie since he has 94 stuff. I'm not sure where this is released. From my understanding, this is also labeled as a Monday Chromo, and from what I understand, this is sort of like a Central America where there's different regions that have different issues and how they sort of class it. I don't know where this is, so if anyone wants to give me a little bit of understanding in the comments, I'd love to read up on it. In terms of this one, there's only been I guess there's been 3 sales. There's been this raw one for 200, there's been this 1.5 for 112, and there was this 1.5 for 375. So, in terms of pricing, doing pretty good. All-time high sale for the grade, for the card. There you go, nice and easy. It does say 4 higher, so it actually might not be an all-time high for the card. I only looked up, I was going to say I only looked up 1.5, but that's not true. I got a raw in there, so who knows. Ferran Torres Gold here, PSA 9 for 480. That was sort of what I was referencing earlier with the Benzema. You could get a Benzema for $100 less. I know it's a PSA 8, but I'd take that every day of the week. Messi Blue-Red Fusion out of 45. Clearly here, this goes higher than the green-red because you do have sort of the color match going on, the blue and the red double color match, which it is a nice-looking card, but these are the types of cards that just, I feel like, show how strong, and we'll see more examples of this, of how strong the modern market is. I should probably get going a little quicker because I'm already at like 25 minutes. So let's get moving. We have a Neymar next to it, 2010. This is not a rookie, but it's a PSA 9 early Neymar for 500. Hopefully the people that won that know it's not a rookie. It doesn't seem like they paid crazy on it, but definitely strong to some degree. 1970 Pele Bisvalita Bank, 492. I did not look that one up, but I looked up this one next to it. Marcelo, 2006 PSA 9 for 504. This was actually an all-time high price at 504. We've seen a couple 492s, some 468s, some 360s, and as low as 125 in 2023. Last sale was 492, sale before that was 456, and then the 125 sale. So also at all-time highs, as you can see, it seems like even some pre-modern is recovering to a good degree at this point in time. Panini Prizm White Sparkle Cristiano Ronaldo for 528. I certainly would be willing to pay the 2.5x premium to go from a Jude to a Cristiano Ronaldo, but to each their own. Next to it, we got some Messis above it. Take your pick. You can get the finest black refractor out of 25 PSA 10 or either or of these rookies PSA 5. I'd probably just take a rookie, but I could see why someone might take the black because it's a color match. It's a PSA 10. It's what the people like. But I do think that, the rookies definitely merit where they're at to some degree at this point because the rise has been pretty strong, pretty steady, pretty quick. But at the same time, I really think that this has been a long time coming. I mean, when you look at eBay, there was always like 300 to 400 Messi rookies on eBay, which when you think about it isn't a ton. But that number's drastically dropped. Right now it's like 125. And so when that number gets that low, and Messi has like 8 different rookies, so really it's like 15 of each. That's a really low number. And I can definitely see why the entry price of Messi, just getting into it, has gone up. Because, I mean, it sort of makes sense, You could buy a rookie or you could buy 20th year numbered cards. I could see why someone would be like, hey, give me a rookie, right? I think that makes sense. And I know they're PSA 5s, but still, I can rationalize it in my head. Rafa Leao, PSA 8 here. Again, I'd take the Benzema and save $200 personally, but to each their own. The Leao goes for a good number, PSA 8. I watch him a lot at Milan because Pulisic's there, and so, I mean, I think he's a tricky player. He's a fun player, but he's definitely inconsistent. You never quite know what you're going to get. And I'd be surprised if he has as much excitement around him at this point in time as he did a couple years ago. So just throwing that out there. But these gold prisms have not been selling. We'll look at some comps later, and that's at least certainly why in my head they continue to run. Because when you only see a sale once every year, so you kind of got to go for it if you want it. 2023 Mega Cracks Aluminium All PSA 10. This peaked at about 700 to 800. It's currently at 576, so it's down a little bit, but not a crazy amount. This is PSA 5 Messi. Surprising that this goes higher than the blue. And it's surprising that the blue went for the same price as the white, but, I don't really know how to rationalize that. Nonetheless, it is what it is. Bruno Fernandes here, PSA 8 for 600. Didn't mean to click on it, but I did. We have a Super Calcio R9 for 600 as well in the PSA 9. Always love that sticker personally. Somehow this Mega Cracks Aluminium All goes for $100 more than the other. No clue as to why. Got a Totti Black Box 2022 NT for $750. Then we have a 49 Nobel Valentini of Juan Schiaffino. This PSA 1 goes for $750. And the only other comp I could find was this Raw for $238. And this is the same exact sticker as the one that just got sold. So seemingly did pretty well. Went from $250 to $750 over the course of a couple years. This isn't a rookie, but it is early. And it is a nice looking one as well. So I'll give it that. You got a Madrid booklet here. Out of Leaf, you got Benzema, Ronaldo, Vinny, Valverde. I think there's Bale, Di Maria in there. Bunch of goodies. Lautaro Martinez, 840 here for this PSA 9, and I would imagine winning the World Cup certainly helps this card to some degree. This Messi 2018 Immaculate Collection is also jersey number 10 out of 65. This goes for 870. I think this card raw I think is like a $100 card maybe, plus or minus some. PSA 10, then you assume is like a $300 card, and then the jersey number, I think, takes this up, or at least that's how I'd explain it in my head. It's also a Pop 1 of 2. That probably helps as well, and it's a little thicker of a card, so yeah, interesting to see nonetheless. A Leaf Decadence here. You got Messi, Ronaldo, Zidane, Ibrahimovic, and then on the back you got all the prospects, but honestly, I don't like Leaf autos in general, and the Ronaldo auto looks a little too crispy for me, but nonetheless, if you like the autos, I mean, 870 on that doesn't seem crazy, which is weird because it's a Leaf card, but I'll say it. In this row, you got an orange Messi out of 75 PSA 10 for 900. I think I looked this one up, but I closed it because we basically only had one other comp. The other comp was earlier this year for 450, so it's doubled in less than a year. This Giovanni Dos Santos Gold Prism BGS 9.5. This went from $391 in 2023 to a whopping $900 now. And back in the day in 2014, you could have got it for $80. So that's up a little bit. Got a Batistuta Black Box 101 for $930. Arda Güler Gold Optic for $990. This Arturo Vidal PSA 9 10 of 10 goes for $1,020. We'll see a couple more here from this set in particular. 2023 Select Field Level Camo. This goes for $1,080 in a BGS 9.5. Back during January and February and all that whatnot, you could have got a PSA 9 for like $100. So those are still up, even though not being all-time high pricing. They're still doing pretty good. Lamine Yamal Finest here for $1,230. Heung-min Son NT Penmanship for $1,380. Black box as well. You also have this Alexis Sanchez for $1,560. PSA 9 from 2014 Prizm. Some more Prizm above it. This row is just crazy to me. I mean, yeah, this row is just an epitome of modern at the moment, where it is just showing how strong this stuff is, man. And it's partially reassuring, in my opinion, but it's also partially scary that you could end up spending, I mean, what, like $7,000, and you go home with a Pedri Gold Prizm, a Rafa Marquez Gold Prizm, and a Jude 1 of 1, you know? $7,000, and that's what you're able to pull. Now, I'm sure each person that bought these feels good about what they bought, and, you know, I've heard a phrase from Chris Hoge, who's one of the people at Card Ladder, and the phrase he used is that every card's overvalued from everyone's perspective for the most part, because if you didn't think it wasn't overvalued, you would have paid on it. You would have bid higher. You would have went after it. And so clearly I didn't go after all these, so I think they're overvalued to some extent, right? Now, there are examples where I go through these and I'm like, actually, that was a good deal. I might have bid that. But like in this scenario, you know, the Pedri at $1,700, I mean, seems pretty strong to me. I did pull up a sale. That's the Lamine Yamal. I forgot that I had it still up, but I already told you about those. The Pedri did sell before. A PSA 10 in 2023 sold for $2,000, and then a 9 sold, I think, last year. No, this was 2023 as well for $1,500. So, like, it's not crazy based on the comps, but man, a Pedri Gold Prizm for $1,700 is pretty solid. A 1-of-1 Jude and a PSA 9 too. I didn't even think about that. But a Select Field Level Jude 1-of-1 PSA 9 for $2,500. This is the type of card that almost makes me think that the American collecting space is totally unaware of how big soccer has gotten, especially in modern. Modern soccer is on a whole nother level. Like when you compare vintage soccer to other sports, vintage soccer just looks like peanuts, right? When you compare pre-modern soccer to other sports, I would say generally soccer still looks like peanuts. When you compare modern soccer to other American sports, it is very competitive. I mean, like, you know, a 1-of-1 Select in other sports for a prospect going for $2,500 in a PSA 9, you see that sometimes, especially in basketball, but like less so American football, and especially less so like other sports. Like it's crazy to me that a PSA 9 Select, which has different 1-of-1s, of like a 4th-year Jude Bellingham, 5th-year Jude Bellingham, I think it's 4th, 5th, depending on how you look at it. But like, that's just crazy. That's a crazy price in my head. And it blows me away every time. I know it's a 1-of-1, I get it, right? But you go look at these other sports, there's 1-of-1s that are meaningful players, and they don't go for this. And Jude's a great player, don't get me wrong, but again, I mean, we just saw the fall off of KDB earlier. KDB's a great player, and people are starting to care less and less. And you know, it's just sort of the way that the whole thing works. I'm sure whoever got this Rafa Marquez, I'm sure it's probably a Mexican collector, just really wants a card. Hey, more power to you. I get it. But still, like 2,700 is a huge number on that card. You know, you could say the Eto's a huge number too, but this is a PSA 9, and Eto is a much better player than anything we've seen before this in terms of Prizm. I think the Eto is a relative deal compared to what else we see. I still think 3K is a good penny, right? But I also thought this was a relative deal too. I mean, just a Messi 1-of-1 from a trophy win, you know, for 3K. It feels like something that, you know, I couldn't imagine it going a whole lot lower. I know it's sort of a random card, random set. I mean, it's just Panini Instant, but still, people love anything Messi, so it doesn't strike me as crazy. You can get a Select Field Level Jude, or you could get a 1-of-1 Messi. I take the 1-of-1 Messi, but, you know, I get it. We got a gold David Beckham auto next to it for 3K. Initially seems like a good price, and I'm sure it is to some extent, but back in the day when these first came out, like, you could have got, like base autos for like $1,000, and now a gold 1010 is only $3,000. Comparatively, that's not great, but it's still $3,000, which is a decent number. RVP here in a 9.5 grade at 3,300. Yeah, I mean, RVP versus Eto, I'd probably take the Eto, but the RVP is a 9.5, so I get that. 2023 Topps UCL Japan Edition Wonder Kids Red Mojo Lamine Yamal PSA 10 for 3,700. Feels like a solid price. I thought this was relatively cheap. Now again, 4,900, is it really cheap? But again, if you could tell me like, hey, you could get a Pele Flawless on-card auto, or you could get a Rafa Marquez plus a Jude Bellingham, or a Jude Bellingham plus a Pedri. I mean, however you want to pair these things up beneath it, I would definitely take the Pele Flawless. I think that's a fun buy. Granted, International Icons is one of the least preferred subsets within the set, so I get that. It's not a huge draw. It's also the out of 25 base, so I also get that. But still, it's a Pele Flawless on card. I mean, give me that all day. And above it, just a funny row, right? You got the Messi 71 bis rookie that everyone's going crazy for. You got the Ronaldo mega cracks that now people are starting to look at a little bit more. I mean, look at those watchers, man. 136, and smack dab between it, the alternative route, the prospecting route you could go. You could get a Zebra Select for more than the exact same price that you'd pay for the Messi. It's just funny, It's just funny. In terms of pricing, I think I looked at both of these. I could be wrong. I did look up the RVP. The RVP sold in 2022 for $960, and it came back at $3,300, by the way. So just, something to note. The Messi BGS 5 all-time high sale was $9,100 at absolute peak February 2021. After that, the next highest sale that was in Card Ladder was $2,300, and then $2,300, and then the lowest sale we had was last year at $1,100 on Heritage. And now we're looking at $5,500. So you could have bought one last year. Granted, it was on Heritage, so it's hard to find, and you probably wouldn't have seen the auction, but you could have got it for $1,100, maybe $1,200, and turned around and sold it for $55. I mean, it's just crazy the run that this is on. And again, I mentioned it last week, but I just don't think it's unjustified. I think it's totally justified. To be fair, I mean, there's about 1,000 of these graded in totality. Maybe 50. I think it's closer to 1,500, but you could argue it's somewhere in between there with cracks and resubs and all that. So, I mean, if people are going crazy for everything Lamine Yamal and everything numbered at all, and people love everything numbered. Imagine if the Messi rookie was numbered to 1,000 or numbered to 1,500 or whatever the pop is, and sure, the pops are going to go up, but each set nowadays of a player probably has 1,000 plus numbered cards in that set. And then there's different sets released, and then there's all these different things. I mean, there's so much competition. This is clearly the Messi. Now, I like the Este too. I would say this is less clearly the Ronaldo. I really like the football sticker, but this is also a very key Ronaldo, and clearly there's similarities between these two cards. They're going to be inextricably linked. And this BGS 6.5 goes for $7,500. In terms of past comps, $7,500, is it the all-time high price? I don't know. It is. So before that, you had $5,000, $4,200, $2,400, $1,700, $1,500. So yeah, in 2022, 2023, you could have got this for $1,500 to $2,000 all day. Back in 2015, you could have got it for $81. So there you go. That would have been a very early buy here. I do look at this card, and at least to me, it looks trimmed. I don't know if I'm just being overly weary on stuff like this. And I don't know if this is going to help, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of border on either side. Like his cleat is almost going off the right-hand side, and like up here towards the top, it doesn't seem like there's almost any border between the O and the side. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. I mean, it's still got bad corners, bad surface, or bad edges, so maybe not. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but always worth doing whenever you're looking at, the BGS labels. Like, look at that. To me, that feels like that has a lot more border between the O and the side, and his cleat is still near the edge. So, maybe I'm just looking too deep, or maybe I'm onto something. I don't know. Would love to hear your thought on it down below, but it's always worth at least giving a peek at. Above it, this is the top row, and my God, Modern is just so nuts, man, and this is a great example. Yeah, I mean, where do we start, So we have the Di Maria Gold going for $7,500. I looked this up, and of course, it's the all-time high price. I mean, this goes for $7,500. Last sale raw, $860. Just crazy. And sure, there hasn't been a copy to sell for 2 years, and sure, Di Maria sort of solidified his legacy with that World Cup, but my word, that's just nuts. That's absolutely insane. You could have got, now granted there aren't that many, but what was the Benzema 360? You could have got 20 of them and still had a little bit extra money to go home with. I mean, my word. It just blows my mind, but I say I get it. I mean, I can understand how you get there, but I couldn't get there. Kaboom Select Messi 2017. This goes for $11.40. Well, $11,400. And in terms of price, all-time high price here. Back in 2022 at Golden, you could have got a set of all PSA 9s and a few 10s apparently in there. And that would have been $10,200. In terms of the low price, you're looking at back in 2018, $73. Not bad. In terms of I guess realistic low price, what are we looking at? 2023 post World Cup win in January, you could have got this for $3,200, or during the World Cup you could have got it for $3,200, and made away with a cool 3 to 4x on that price. So yeah, kabooms are killing, and I mean clearly to top it all off, the Diego Maradona Gold, which I barely can even stand to look at. I mean, it's just insane to me, but at the same time, people love the gold kabooms. They love kaboom. But like a post-mortem Diego Maradona gold Prizm, this was the second highest. I say gold Prizm, gold kaboom, you get the idea, whatever. But this is the second highest auction sale of a Maradona in like the last 2 years. The only higher sale was a PSA 7 disc. And other than that, nothing else really gets all that close. And it's just crazy to me. It is absolutely mind-blowing. But And I was gonna say but and try to explain it in some weird. I guess it just is the gold kaboom craze. It's just what the people like. It's what the people want. But in my mind, I just could never imagine this number. Now, granted, there was another gold kaboom Maradona that sold recently for like $15K. So is this really that crazy to think that this sells for 21 or whatever? I mean, it's not. It's relatively in line, I guess. But to me, it's just crazy to think about. I can't piece it together myself, but clearly other people can. And maybe I'm just going the way of the dinosaur, the way of the dodo, and I'm just gonna get absolutely ran on by all the new people that would just rather have kaboom cards of Maradona rather than like playing years cards of Maradona. But it is what it is. I have no clue really what to say on that kaboom other than my word. If that doesn't show you where modern soccer is and how competitive modern soccer can be with other sports, I mean, my word. What other sport can you go look at where someone that literally stopped playing 30 years ago has an out of 10 card that goes for $2,100 or $21,000, no signature, no patch, no nothing, just color, it's just nuts to me. I don't get it at all, but maybe I wasn't meant to get it. So, on to auction block 189. I haven't looked at this one yet. Highest price, what do we see? As you could guess, 2 Bisses to top it off. A BGS 9 already at $18K and a BGS 7.5 at $4. These are probably closer to, over 20 and over 5 if you include BP. PSA 10 Messi from 2006, a kaboom Messi. There you go. For all the this is okay. So this is what someone's talking about. They said they were excited to see my thoughts on Ty Cobb. Here it is. We'll have a thorough discussion of it next week. So be prepared for that. Neymar Gold, which after we saw what happened this week, I'd be interested in what that does. Estevao, tie-dye, you got a Ronaldo PSA 10, and Mbappe breakaway there, along with a Marcelo Gold, a Messi Gold, some more 2014 Golds if you're into that stuff, an 8.5 Messi, an Upper Deck Ronaldo, and certainly some fun stuff scattered in between. So, that's going to do it for me today. As always, hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Any thoughts on the sales we saw today? If there's anything that stuck out to you, just any card, we'd love to hear what you had to say about it. And if you want to see more videos like this, as soon as I go live, make sure to subscribe. But with that said, hopefully you have a wonderful day, and peace. Come back. Vintage Discord, also linked down below. You can't click the link. YouTube doesn't trust me. They think I'm a scammer. So you have to copy the link, paste it into Discord. Hopefully that works. But there you go. All right. Bye again.